and what decks that they are on. We've got Justin on the left of our screen on Jeskai Control. This is going to be the first time that we see it on camera today. And then going up against Joseph on the right. And this is going to be the black-white pixie deck that we did see in some of the early rounds today. Looks really good going up against the aggro decks, but now against a control deck, we'll see how it fares out. How is this game going to play out, Doom? Or how should it play out on paper?
It's going to be a bit of a weird matchup because if you look at the deck list for Joseph here, the Orzhov Pixie deck, this deck is really built around setting up loops with like temporary lockdown, getting back Hopeless Nightmare, maybe a Pixie or something. But the interesting thing about this matchup is the lockdown. You would normally think that lockdown is maybe not fantastic against the Jeskai control deck because there's not really a lot of permanents that you're going to be able to kill with it. But you can set up this loop, and because the games will go long, and what you can do is you can get to a spot where if you have lockdown, let's say with a Hopeless Nightmare underneath it, you can, in your opponent's draw step, use Nurturing Pixie to pick up the lockdown, get the card that they draw for turn with the lockdown, with the Hopeless Nightmare trigger, and then replay the lockdown the next turn, picking up, getting the Pixie, and kind of setting up a loop that way. So I think that is one of Joseph's plans, assuming that Joseph doesn't have the kind of fast Hopeless Nightmare Pixie draw, which given nothing in the first two turns followed by an Annex on turn 3, Joseph's hand looking pretty slow. So we're probably not gonna see any nightmares, at least in the near future.
Yeah, it's going to be ideal for Justin in this situation. The land goes really going to favor him. Justin went for the Annex. That got countered. The follow-up was going to be a stock up to kind of refill the hands. But while the shields are down, Joseph's able to deploy a big threat. And that threat is Archfiend of the Dross, one of the biggest ones he's got in the deck. The big 6/6 demon with a little bit of a downside, but we'll talk about that if it gets to it. As Justin's going to play land and go. Joseph going to go to his 5th turn.
Yeah, and looking at the Jeskai deck as far as answers are concerned for the Archfiend, well, Justin's way ahead of me. There's the Get Lost there. There is 4 copies of Get Lost in Justin's deck list. And what I like about that is the Jeskai control deck also has its own copies of Lockdown. And well, the cool thing about that is, under some circumstances, Get Lost is kind of awkward, where if you're giving your opponent maps to use on certain creatures, that could be a situation where they get value out of it, but the maps just get cleaned up by the lockdown on the next turn.
We had a bit of a turn going on there. So the Archfiend was was getting lost. In response to that, we tried to bounce it back to our hand. That then got countered as well. So in a big exchange there, Justin coming out just on top. Now going to turn 6 and able to start bouncing permanents back as we're going to start getting this river region on the board. 6/7 flyer.
Yeah, this card's awesome, where it allows you to get a little bit of pressure on the battlefield. Joseph doesn't really have anything going on at 20 life. Needs to find a way to get the region off the battlefield. It represents 6 damage a turn. That's going to kill Joseph pretty quickly, and it sort of undoes the work that Joseph did last turn by playing the Preacher and getting rid of one of those maps. As far as removal spells from the Orzhov side of things, typically they play some nowhere to runs, which better against the aggro decks, not really that great against the 6/7, but does have 3 copies of Momentum Breaker along with a Get Lost to be able to potentially answer those.
All right, so we do have some answers to it. We cracked the map, revealed another Preacher, left that on top of our deck. Do you see a temporary lockdown in the hand here for Joseph's? This is not the matchup for it. Justin's going to do a little bit of surveilling. And
run it back.
Which one's the aggro deck again? which one's meant to be turning things sideways?
I mean, yeah, this is the tough part, where if Joseph doesn't have those fast Pixie draws, where it's Pixie or Nightmare into Pixie, replay the Nightmare, Kieran, bounce the Nightmare, replay the Nightmare, it's very difficult to sort of get enough pressure early on to pressure Justin meaningfully before he can get to a spot where he's casting these dragons. And yeah, Justin's just gonna kind of run away with this one, I think, pretty easily.
What's happening?
There's not a third one, is there?
Nope. What mode are we using here? Am I missing something?
We're copying the Regent to bounce both Preachers. My goodness.
I feel like Justin's played this deck before. I feel like he's played this deck before. He knows this and that. This is such a tempo orientated start, and all it needed was for the first couple of turns, Joseph to not do anything turn 1, turn 2. If turn 3 is the first thing he's able to do something, then and then a lightning helix finisher. Justin took we were expecting this game to go pretty long. That was a massively quick game, quicker than some of the prowess decks we've seen so far today.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me about these sideboards, Bill. What is Joseph working with?
Like you talk to me about this sideboard. Well, this is where let's have a little look. What we got? So, Joseph, we've got what we got going on here. We got bears. I don't think we want those duresses. I'm interested in some dresses in this matchup. Seemed like there was a lot of spells on the other side. Get lost. Have a clean answer to this blue dragon that just beat the heck out of me. I don't know what else I'm expecting. Maybe temporal lockdown on the other side. That's also a good answer to that. Don't think I want rest in pieces. The end. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, yeah, basically, I think what Joseph is looking at here, you mentioned in game one, Joseph's lockdowns aren't nearly as good because Justin doesn't have a lot of targets for the lockdowns. Maybe you want to keep in some number of them to be able to set up the loop, as I mentioned with the lockdown, hopeless nightmare, bouncing with Kieran and Pixie. But yeah, Joseph definitely wants to get his hands on those duresses. Those ones will definitely be coming in. The additional copy of Unholy Annex, pretty good against the Just Guy deck, just being able to get a little bit of card advantage that way. The end is kind of interesting where
It is, isn't it?
yeah, you can tag the Shiko with it, maybe the Meringue River region, remove the copies of those. But then, yeah, I don't know if I want the Get Losts. I mean, they are ways to kill the big dragons, but it'll depend on how many cards Joseph wants to cut.
Well, let's have a see if we can get on the other side. Do we have the other deck list production? Yes, we do. Okay, there we go. That's the 75. That's the sideboard. I do see a Rhea Ripley rocking around in that sideboard. Talk me through it. What did I bring it in?
All right. So from Justin's side of things, it's interesting, right? So we talked about how Joseph is likely to trim, if not board out entirely on the temporary lockdowns. Justin's in this weird position where his lockdowns answer the Pixies and the Kierans. But if you put too many things under a lockdown, say you lock down like a Kieran, a Pixie, and a Hopeless Nightmare, and then Joseph has a way to remove the lockdown, say a Get Lost or something, that could be kind of awkward. So I'm not sure that Justin wants to keep in all of the lockdowns. Maybe you want some number of them just to, as a nice way to clean up the battlefield. As far as cards that Justin is looking towards, Tishana's Tidebinder is fantastic against Unholy Annex, especially if you, spend 5 mana to make a demon and you just counter that with Tidebinder, get a 3/2 body. That one's pretty good. Elish Nord is interesting, where looking at Joseph's deck list, there's not a ton of ways to remove it because that would turn off Momentum Breaker, and it also turns off all of the like Pixie and Nightmare stuff. So Elish Nord seems pretty good, and could maybe talk me into some number of negates for the annexes, and then other than that, maybe the 3 steps ahead for just some additional hard counters.
All right. Well, let's get down to the match. See how the players are getting on, shuffling up. Looks like we're just coming to the end of it. We do have Justin 1 game up. Of course, if he wins this 7 rounds, it's always if you've got that 5th win, you potentially can just double ID the last 2 rounds and lock yourself into the top 8. But might want to play for, play draw discrepancy. You don't really want to be on the draw against Is It Prowess if that is how it's going to be. But going into this round 4-0, got to imagine Justin's probably played against some of the aggro decks so far and has been doing pretty good being able to pick up the W's that might have something to do with the 3 temporary lockdowns and all these lightning hexes I see floating around in the main deck. Own in hands.
All right, what are we working with? See, this is what Joseph is looking for. I saw a couple lands, I saw a Pixie, and I saw a Hopeless Nightmare. The one thing that was interesting for Justin's side of things is sometimes you will see in these Jeskai control decks, they'll play either Obstinate Baloth or Wildleaf Liege. Justin decided not to play that card this weekend. So normally a card that's very powerful against these discard type enchantments, that card is not present here for Justin.
Pixie, replay the Nightmare. Discard again, another 2 points of damage. So again, plan A is on track now. We didn't see this in the first matchup. This is exactly why we play this deck. This is the powerful opening it can have. What cards do you want to start discarding on turn 1 and turn 2? We're going to go with Chandra.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get the 6 mana against the deck that's making you discard a card every turn. So that one makes sense to discard.
Getting there for another point, couple of points. It's going to drop Justin down to 14. Then the follow up is going to be a duress. Let's see what you're working with. Justin's like, you're going to have to pay another 2. Nope, you're going to have to pay another 4 for that. So it's not going to resolve. Somebody in the grip he wants to keep. Maybe it's just the information.
Yeah, man, Joseph
Ugh.
just had look at this follow up. Yeah,
Ugh.
more pixies and nightmares, and what's Justin down to? 2, 3 cards in hand.
2 cards in hand, I believe.
3.
Up to 4 now. There's the land. 3 mana. Stock up. It's going to pay another 2. If your opponent's making discard cards, this is a good one to get to start casting.
Yeah, so the issue here is, yes, Justin is sort of back up on the card advantage. Basically, the Nightmare got cast a couple of times, and Justin's able to refuel with 2 more cards off the stock up. The issue is he has to tap out to do it, and he's already under the gun. Took a bunch of damage off the Nightmares, 4 power, coming in right now. That's going to put Justin to 8, maybe a Kieran and another Nightmare that puts him to 6. So he's going to really need some sort of like sweeper or helix to kind of stabilize this battlefield.
My word. That's the 4th hopeless nightmare being cast this game. What we discarded there? I can't quite make that out on my screen.
That was the dragon that we revealed to the exhale.
4th land. Pass the turn back. We're at 6 and there's 6 power on the board.
Math checks out. It's got to be a helix, right?
Double get lost.
Oh God, that is a tough way to do it. Because now you're giving Joseph a bunch of maps to use onto the pixie. Joseph can just sculpt the draw step for next turn. Still taking 2 damage from the pixie here. Maybe there's even an annex to follow. Can you imagine annex to follow up with after you've used 2 get lost?
All right, we're top decking. We need a temporal lockdown?
Yeah, lockdown to clean up this battlefield would be nice.
Not anymore. Now there's going to be a creature land down there that could potentially get activated.
But this is sort of what I was talking about with the lockdowns is that you get into these weird spots where like you lock down here, and then if Joseph has a get lost, the lockdown, lockdown dies, the nightmare and the pixie come back, and it's just you end up just kind of dying to the chip shot damage there.
The last 2 cards in hand are flanker and get lost, and that wouldn't even do it if it was going to happen, but it's not. We're going to see Joseph taking that game down. Really, both these matchups games have been really quick as we go into game number 3 here. I think this is just Joseph's deck beat itself. Then Joseph's deck did what he wanted to do, and that is the difference between both of them. Now, Justin will get to be on the play, so let's have a look at his deck list one more time. Remind ourselves what the 75 cards he's got is. This is it. Any play draw discrepancy here?
Not really. I mean, I think the cards that Justin was looking towards, like I said, the Tidebinders, the Elishnorn, the 3 Steps, and the Loran, those are going to be good play or draw. The one thing I want to point out about that game is just how different the black-white deck looks when it has turn 1 Nightmare. That was the difference between a limited deck and a standard deck.
Right, let's see if we can go across to the other side. Let's have a little look-see-poo in here. This is the Obzoff Pixies deck. You did say that maybe some things in here might be play draw dependent. Is it still the case now? Now that we're on the draw, going to be a slightly slower. Obviously, we've got more threat of things getting countered on curve.
Not really. I mean, the duresses, those are going to be good play or draw because you want to be able to take like the stock ups and the things of that nature. I guess the number of get losts maybe will change whether your player or draw. Like maybe you you want more or less of that against stuff like lockdown. Probably still wants the annex either way. That one's going to be coming in. I guess like flanker as a flash threat could be kind of interesting just to like play around counter spells and things like that, but it is pretty low impact.
I did think we brought them in for game 2, so I imagine they might be there for game 3. Looks like both players are happily with their own in hands, so we're off to the races. Game number 3, round number 5 of 7 scheduled today. Justin versus Joseph. Jesco Control versus Obzoff Picky, starting off with a duress. It's going to see a couple of get lost and a lightning helix. Is it the helix?
So we have two islands, I believe that is.
Yep.
Two islands, a Beza, a Helix, and two Get Lost. So Meticulous Archive Island with Lighting Helix, kind of awkward. I think you might just take one of the Get Losts because the Helix can't be cast. But it looks like Joseph is, saying, well, if you draw a red source, the Helix is maybe a little bit better at kind of, but getting you back into the game if I have a Nightmare draw.
No, I like your reason behind that. Yeah, maybe the more that I think about it, I think taking one to get lost because at least it's a spell that could be cast. I also get the other side of it. If it is cast, at least I get the map, so I'm gaining a little bit of advantage, or not advantage, but I'm gaining some resources in this match. If that's the removal spell of choice for Justin, he's going to discard one of
Ooh.
them though.
Yeah, no untapped land here for Joseph. Joseph did have the Pixie in hand, but didn't have the untapped land to be able to cast it. And now we're in this weird spot where if you're Justin and Joseph goes to cast the Pixie, he has to think about whether or not he wants to get lost the Nightmare. Never mind, because we're tapping out. That is Rediscover the Way. It's sort of like stock up on layaway, where you end up, getting two cards off of it, but you only get one the first turn.
So yes, it's one of each. Just go color. For look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest of in the bottom of your library in any order. That's chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell this turn, target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. Now imagine
Yeah,
getting one of those dragons double strike.
well, yeah, that sometimes that comes up in this particular game. That's just flavor text. We're playing this as just like sort of more copies of stock up. The cool thing about this one is it goes to the graveyard, so it's another card that you can like get off of Shiko. You can I guess this deck doesn't really have it, but some decks you can like I've seen some decks play this town ain't big enough to bounce it and then get another trigger that way.
Okay.
But yeah, mostly just here is some card advantage that we can play off of Shiko.
It's interesting that we've labeled this just go control because it's just basically trying to control the ball until eventually you turn the corner. But a lot of tapping out turns, things with stock up. Same with this. There's a few it's not just the traditional land go, counter magic, kill spell. That I say we're kind of brainwashed into thinking control decks are over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, this isn't like the, what was it? Was it Ivan Flock when he won the PT with that blue eye control deck? You remember that one with
Well,
like
that shuffles it all back in.
Elixir of Immortality,
Oh
Sphinx and
my
Trev? Yeah,
word!
that deck had like 20 counter spells.
Why reminded me of that one? That was a brutal deck to ever play against. The only win con was a 1 mana artifact that just
Yeah,
to mill
Elixir.
your opponent out. Cheers then. All right, Baze is going to come down here. No extra creatures, no little fishes are going to get generated, but I think we've got an extra card and some. We didn't get any life either. But it's still a 4/5 body. That's a way to, like applying pressure while holding up some of this counter magic and a creature as well next turn to be potentially able to give double strike.
Yeah, and honestly, just like the fact the most important part here for Justin is just getting the card out of it. Because when Joseph has the Pixie Nightmare draws, you definitely want to make sure that you can get cards to sort of get yourself back out of that hole that the Nightmare puts you in. I can't quite get a good look at. Okay, so it looks like we have Annex, Get Lost, Beza, Preacher. I think so. We could maybe Get Lost the Beza if we're worried about that.
Now we're going to go for the annex here. The we don't have a demon, so we will lose 2 life, but we will be able to draw and get an extra card end of turn for it. Question about playing against these decks. If you're playing against the Pixie decks that have all this discard that's going on, do you have to prioritize when you're playing against it your land drops, like as in always discard spells, never discard lands unless obviously of course you're super flooded, but you want to basically get to a optimal land count and then start worrying about the spells in your hand? Is that like the go-to method against it, or am I completely wrong?
Kind of depends. Depends on the deck, depends on the matchup. It's hard to say exactly one way or the other, but yeah, I mean usually you don't want to be keeping like, for example, in the previous game we saw Justin discard Chandra.
Mhm.
It's very on turn 1 or turn 2, it's very difficult or like it's a pretty lofty ambition to try to get the 6 mana against the deck that's doing this over and over again. So, yeah, you want to keep
Ooh.
like your 3 and 4 mana cards that are card advantage stuff and
Look at the respect there Joseph had on the ability of giving this double strike, chumping with that pixie there.
it's interesting, and I guess that makes sense because Joseph, if Joseph does end up going to 8 off of the double strike, going to 8 against that, with the annex in play without a demon, that is kind of a risky proposition. And he figures he has the get lost next turn, so that can take care of the Beza. So he's not worried about taking a hit next turn. So kind of makes sense.
What's that? Is that double Beza? What's the card? Oh, it's the sweeper, isn't it? It's a split up.
Shiko.
Is that not a split up?
Oh, you're talking about the non-fancy card. Yeah, I think it's split up Beza Shiko. I believe is the holdings here for Justin.
And that's the one that's going to go. Split up's going to go to the bin. Got an Archie and a Dross in hand. I think, or was it a Preacher?
I think Joseph's hand is Get Lost, Preacher, Beza.
Gallus is going to get fired off. So at least to get 2 map tokens for all the... Well, to be fair, we've got the creatures in hand, so we will have targets for it.
Yeah, now Justin has a really good turn here where he can just go Shiko, back the Rediscover the Way, get a little bit of cards that way. And then the Shiko can start pressuring Joseph, especially with the Annex here. Joseph, I would say, kind of needs to find a land for... Oh, okay. We're going to go for the Lauren here. Just get the... Don't even give Joseph the opportunity to make a demon. I don't think I like that.
Hit a land drop. Go again. Hit another land drop. Okay, these are good. These are, not only us able to hit our land drops, but also some fodder in case any more bouncing effects happen and we have to start discarding again because of these nightmares. Still a healthy life total for Justin at 18, Joseph at 12.
Honestly, Justin is just winning the race at this point.
Yeah.
The Lauren in play. He's got the Shiko in hand. He's got another threat. I guess we still know about the Beza as well.
Is tapped out. Shields are down. So Joseph can resolve whatever you like this turn.
Yeah, so Joseph has left over, I believe, the Preacher we talked about, the Beza. It's not the worst Beza turn. I'm guessing Justin has more cards in hand, or did they both have 3? I think they both have 3.
I think it might be 3, yeah.
Which is interesting. I guess that means Joseph doesn't have a land to play, because we could have played a land first to get the extra card, so that signifies to me there's no land. Oh, there is a land. Interesting. Maybe a bit of a misstep here for Joseph, because I'm pretty sure Justin had 3 cards in hand.
Yeah, it's a long day, especially if you played yesterday. It was a long day yesterday playing Magic Modern. Now going into Standard. 7 rounds of Swiss today. We are in round number 5. These things can happen, but it's fun. Got a bounce back. 3 mana. Did we draw a stock up?
As the lovely Taylor Swift said, you just got to shake it off.
She said that?
She did.
Okay. Quote?
I mean, I think she did.
2025 Taylor Swift. Shake it off.
Don't ask me what year. I lost track of years at this point.
Look at you trying to retract yourself that you're not a big Swiftie. We all know it. It's fine. It's all cool. Everyone knows.
No comment, okay? I plead the 5th.
Didn't she lose the Super Bowl or something? I don't know. I don't do American sports. All right, let's pass it back. This event is in Chicagoland. 2 mana I pay for Justin. 4 mana on the other side. Here's the Archfiend and the Dross going to come down. 4 oil counters are going to be placed on top of it.
Okay. Archfiend's not too bad here. I mean, with Justin at 18, could be a little bit of... I mean, it's just going to be really tough to, once the Jeskai player has gotten to this stage of the game where, we've already resolved multiple of these Rediscover the Ways, we're up on cards, we're not really in any danger of dying to nightmares and stuff like that. I mean, I guess the one saving grace is Joseph still has that Archfiend that could potentially deal a little bit of damage, but surely the stock up is going to find a get lost here.
Stock up is it's been showing its value this weekend, and in every deck we've seen it cast in, it just seems so good. It's really been able to get all these decks pulling ahead. Card selection has been key. Finding the 2 cards that you absolutely need in this instance, having an extra 5 mana as well. We might even be able to close the game out as early as next turn, right? If we can give one of these we're slightly off, I guess. Can we give both double strike? How would that work? 1, 2, 3.
At 15,
yeah, it's only 10.
Still not quite enough. Yeah.
Archie's going to come across, no blocks. It's going to drop Justin down to 12.
Oh, didn't find a get lost. Okay, I guess that is, like I said, one saving grace for Joseph is that if Justin for some reason can't answer the Archfiend, okay,
Another Archion's going to come
counter
down.
spell.
This
That
is
one's gonna
good.
get countered. But I mean, again, if Justin maybe can't find an answer for the first one, depending on, I don't know if Justin has spells left over, but maybe there's no spells. Maybe he can't give double strike to the Shiko this turn. That gives Joseph an extra turn. I have to see what Justin has here.
Is it 2 cards in the grip, I think? Maybe 3?
I think 3 or 4.
Lightning Helix. There's a spell. That's going to go upstairs. Trigger. Give this double strike.
Oh, do we just have lethal? So if we go Helix, Shiko, Flashback, Helix. No, that's not quite enough. 15, 12. That'd be, I think that puts Joseph to 1 if there's a Chico here or a second Helix. Assuming we have life totals right.
Mm-hmm. Still so many cards in hand as well. We're going to flash in this flanker.
Hmm.
So that's got the ability to give us gain 2 life and scry 2 if we want it.
Yeah, I wonder if Justin is thinking about firing off a counter spell here. Justin, I believe, does have enough mana to go 3 steps ahead, counter the spell, and make a copy of the Shiko. That's exactly what he's
Yeah.
doing.
Just as you wrote it up. So that's the Get Lost on the Archfiend.
Yeah, and that maybe you think from Justin's side, well, I can Helix, gain a little bit of life, put Joseph down to 1, but that is the way that Justin loses this game is if
Mhm.
Joseph untaps with the NX, or excuse me, the Archfiend, and then maybe has a couple of kill spells that could potentially. So Justin just recognizing that is the one way he can lose this turn, and Joseph really needs to find a kill spell for this Shiko.
Yeah, either way you break it down, it's always going to be a 2-turn clock. So there's no difference between 4 and 1 really going into the next turn. We're still going to have lethal on the next turn. So it makes sense to be able to deal with the board. I think we've got. Are we in the upkeep now? We haven't drawn our card yet. Maybe we're thinking we're going to crack one of these hopeless nightmares and potentially get some scry action on beforehand. Yeah, it looks like what we're going to do. Before I draw a step, in our upkeep, scry 2. Don't like either of them. Put them to the bottom. Big top deck, 3 mana available.
It's got to be a kill spell.
It's not slamming it. It was a land, so it's redraw. It's a handshake there. Justin's going to take this down. Justin is going to advance to a 5-0 record. That was a really cool back and forth games. The first 2 were over way quicker than I thought they were going to be, but that game 3 was really cool. I really liked it, and this Just Go control deck seems pretty fun.
Yeah, that like you mentioned, games 1 and 2, maybe not the most. It definitely were a lot faster paced, and both decks just firing on all cylinders. But that game 3, definitely a lot of back and forth. There were some interesting spots where Joseph had the Archfiend of the Dross, and Justin needed to find an answer to it. And there was definitely some spots for Joseph to come back in. But that was sort of the difference there of not having the fast like Nightmare Pixie draws,
Mhm.
that you give the Jeskai deck enough time to eventually draw out of it.
Right, we're going to get an interview with our winner, Justin. We're going to get him in the booth momentarily. So if there's any questions you've got, whack them in the chat really quickly, and we'll be able to fire them across to you. If not, me and Devin are going to do our best to try and get that information out of them, because this Jeskai deck's got a lot of spice going on, as we say. And this isn't one I've come across too much into, playing against. Maybe I played against it once or twice, but I've not really done like a deep dive into it or played it myself. But it looks fun. It looks like it's got a lot of like options in there. And I really like these like control decks where you tap out a lot of the time. I'm not one to just sit back on my counter magic. I really do like this is my play. This is it. You do your thing. You're going to overcommit. I then get to do my big follow-up turn from it. What about you? You've been playing this much?
No, I'm not a huge fan of the control decks in general, but this one does, like you mentioned, look a lot different than your traditional control decks. It still has a little bit of counter magic. There's the dispelling exhales and the 3 steps ahead. But yeah, for the most part, just a lot about just tapping out, playing, just impacting the battlefield as much as possible, and these like really big haymaker spells like Shiko, and as we saw in game 1, that the bounce dragon, the Meringue River region, just was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. You say you play a lot of Jessica in this. Is this like a deck that looks like it's quite pretty set up for it? We've got the Heightening Helixes, the temporary lockdowns, the Get Lost. There's a lot of early interactions to try and deal with that deck.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, well, down. We've got Justin in. Justin, how are we doing? Congratulations on taking it down, my friend. Going to a 5-0 record, which puts you within touch distance now of that top 8, if not even locks. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. She goes a hell of a drug.
Yes, it is indeed. It looks great there. What was your plans going into that? Have you played against much of the Pixie bounce decks this weekend?
Game 1 was awkward though because he had a very awkward hand, so I didn't really see a lot of the Pixie stuff. I put him on possibly mono black Orzhov demons. So game 2 I sideboarded out my temporary lockdowns and immediately got punished for it.
That's awkward.
Yeah, so I played against it a bit. Locally, it's a lot of prowess, and people love playing random stuff for FNMs and such. But I have some reps against the Pixie deck. It seems fine. Like those game 2s where they just like hopeless nightmare you 12 times. Like there's nothing you're gonna be able to do about it. But
yeah,
stock up is also very good in that matchup.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the prowess deck, and that's one thing that we've been asking. That's one thing that's on everybody's mind this weekend. That was the public enemy #1 coming into the event, and I'm sure you got a good plan for it. How is the prowess matchup been treating you?
I mean, it's a very tough matchup. Like last round I was on against Cliff, and that game 3 was absolutely bananas, which love to see it. Don't like seeing the turn 3, turn 4 blowouts. So it's nice actually having like very competitive games, all 3 games. People love talking about bans.
Yeah, we're not there yet. I don't think let's have some fun. Let's do the broken bit, or at least try and stop people doing the broken bit. Which means we want to go into your deck list, right? Like we've put it down as Jeskai control, but there's a lot of turns you just fully tap out. Like turn 3, turn 5, you just like fully tapping out. It's not your traditional control deck where you're holding up this counter magic, trying to be very reactive. You're almost a proactive control deck. Talk me through that and like how and why we're kind of shifting to that at the minute in the standard meta.
I think it's just your turn 3 through 5, your cards are so powerful that like if you tap out for them, you feel very good about where you're at. And like Prowess is the most punishing deck if you do that. And it's just like I have to pull the trigger. I can't just sit here with 3 mana and do nothing. My counter spells are actively terrible. Like you're just gonna double spell and bot me for 12. So it's just playing to the board. Shiko's very good. Beza's very good. Meringue, if you cast the front half, is a very messed up magic card sometimes. Like I was on cover, my round 3, I played the mirror, and I just meringued, picked up my Beza and my Shiko in the mirror, and just like, this feels very good.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All the value.
Dot deck.
Yeah.
Last question is going to come from Doom if you've got one.
I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything. I guess the last thing I will mention is, you were talking about prowess. Is there any other, like, what is the matchup that you want to see the least? I'm guessing maybe the answer is prowess.
Is it tough? I think, honestly, I've played against this matchup like 12 times. Is honestly probably the Gruul Leyline version of the Gruul aggro deck. Because like you just start with Leyline and just like your gate loss are so taxed in that matchup to begin with. It's like, well, if I don't get lost that, I'm dying on turn 2. Like I played at RCQ 2 seasons ago, and I played against the Gruul Leyline deck, and they killed me through 2 Elspeth Smites on turn 2.
You ain't winning that game.
I don't know what I'm supposed
to do. That's a lot.
That deck is really cool, but again, as I said, it's falling down in popularity, so maybe you're not going to see too much of this weekend. And if that's the only deck you're trying to dodge,
I think Omniscience is the big bad Boogeyman and Domain, just because you're so taxed with all these aggro decks. Like Jace can just not exist in your 75. It's very tough, and like you have access to Stone Brain. You can theoretically play one Jace in your 75, but it's Omni's 5-ish% of the meta. Domain's down to less than 5%. Just so they can't figure out the prowess matchup, and it's okay in the mirror, but like I'm not hedging for 15% of the meta in a sideboard slot when all your slots need to be almost modular cards.
That's interesting. Like, let's talk about it. I was going to let you go, but I want to ask you one more question now about preparing for this tournament. So coming this weekend, obviously you bought the deck. You said you were looking at percentages of the meta, and some you're going to pay attention to, and some you're not. Talk me through that process of how you got to this deck and these set of cards going into this weekend. And don't say you just borrowed it and someone gave you the deck and you're just doing really well.
If you saw, I'm on fully blinged out Jeskai. I'm riding to this till the wheels fall off.
Let's go.
But I played Minneapolis last week. for the RC. I started day 1, 1 and 3. I rattled off 4 in a row, got to 5 and 3, felt really good. And then I played against Oculus, which if you stumble, they will punish you almost as hard as Is It. Mulligan to 5 game 1, got blown out. Game 2 is a competitive game, but like so it goes. You're a control player in a very proactive format. Like sometimes they just don't line up, and got to live with that. But preparing for today, my day 2 I played in the 10K at Minneapolis. I got absolutely rail-rotted by red aggro decks. I was start off 2-0 against Is It, felt really good, and then I just wheels fell off the bus, finished 2 and 4, dropped, and had to recollect myself. And was like, I played well. There's nothing I can do. And like there was 3 different rounds against Prowess where they're hellbent, top deck the Flood Maul, blow up a lockdown. You're like, I guess I'm dead. But
I think that's a good like skill to learn, right? Like, and it's only one of those things you can learn by doing it, is accepting the bad beat story. Sometimes you play a perfect game and you still end up losing because it's just out of your control.
Yeah, that's why we love Magic. It's the variance. Like
it's
sometimes
exactly
it's
why
just
we love Magic.
You get low rolled and it's a bad day, but there's other times like today. I could very easily be 1 and 4. I'm 5 and 0. It's feeling awesome. I'm doing the same stuff. I'm making the correct plays and just recognizing when you punt it. Like I 2-0 at day 2 at Minneapolis. I played against Is It for the 3rd time in a row. I got aggressive. I didn't respect the top deck. He top decked Flood Maul and just killed me with a dominating board presence. It's like, I guess I don't attack, but like just taking those little lessons. And like it's tough. I'm a very competitive player. Like I love my control decks. I play Scepter Chant in Modern. I play Blue-White Control in Pioneer. It's all I know. And it's just like whenever it's competitive, it feels so awesome just to tell people no.
You got a big t-shirt. I know you got one of those. You got a t-shirt that says "Nope" on it somewhere, haven't you?
Oh, my girlfriend actually last Christmas got me the Nope sweatshirt. So
there you go. See, they all have it. They all have it.
Yeah.
Right.
She's looking at the t-shirt for our anniversary gift, so that'll be in the mail soon.
Well, I'm going to let you go, my friend. Chill out for the rest of the round. Start looking at the breakers, and maybe potentially we'll see you in the top 8 a little bit later on. So again, congratulations, as we're going to head back to the booth.
All right, bye.
See ya. And on that one, we are coming back to the booth. Me and Dune, this is our last round. It's over, my friend. It's done. How are you feeling now? Are you feeling a little tired? I know it's Mother's Day. I know you're going to go out for some big Italian food, which has got me thinking maybe I need to order some pizza in a minute.
Well, I don't think we're done yet, Will. I think we're going to take a look at a backup match real quick.
We got one.
Yeah, okay. I think we do. So this is going to be game number 2. Jess Williams, who we saw last round, up a game against Justin Nelson, Jeskai Control, and Demir Midrange. This is an interesting matchup. So, you see from the Jeskai Control side of things, I don't know if we're live or if this is time shifted. Maybe we can get word on production. But yeah, this is okay. Live. This is actually live, so we'll have to see how this one plays out. But yeah, very interesting matchup from the Demir side of things, where you're trying to go under all their big spells and counter spells, and then Jeskai try to maybe land one of those big haymakers and then kind of ride that to victory.
Looking at Justin's list, it looks pretty much the same as what we just saw. So there's maybe a couple numbers difference, but the cards are all the same here. Definitely don't want to be drawing cards in the face of that Shield Dread on the other side here for Jess. We saw that they were able to take down the last round and do it in spectacular fashion, but now one game up does look like we might be going to a game 3, but 8 life is not a lot for Justin Nelson on the right of our screen.
Yeah, the nice thing about for Justin Nelson is that from the Shieldred side of things, stock up does not. It's kind of like drawing cards, but it's not really drawing cards. So that one does not actually trigger the Shieldred. It's a way for Justin to get some cards into hand without having to take a bunch of damage. And that Shieldred is kind of a big threat. This is a weird staring contest where, Jess is at 7 facing down the Shiko, the Tidebinder, and the Whitley Fleege. But then Justin doesn't want to attack with everything because Justin wants to make sure there's enough blockers for the Shieldred. So there's also the Soulstone Sanctuary to take into account. So this kind of weird staring contest here, which usually favors the person with Shieldred, although I think we might just have lethal this turn, especially with that Jeskai Revelation. Yeah.
Whoa. I was about to say the one of Jeskai Revelation off the top. I'm going to tell you what it does in case you don't know at home, ladies and gentlemen. This is 7 mana. 4 generic, 1 of each Jeskai color for an instant. Return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. Does 4 damage to any target. You create 2 1/1 white monk creature tokens with price. You draw 2 cards. And you gain 4 life. A lot of text on that card, and that is exactly why it's able to win you a game like that.
It's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words. I'm gonna have to have
That's all. No notes. That's all I got. A lot of words.
Okay, right. Well, let's look at the deck lists again. We got Jess's. Let's get that up on the screen first. Going to be on the play as we go into game number 3. That's the 75. That's the sideboard. Anything you like here as we head into 3 on the play?
Yeah, we saw Jess play last round, and this is their sideboard. So against the Jeskai control matchup specifically, the Fairy Mastermind's pretty good. Cheap threats that you can kind of get under the blue-black side, and it's very likely that Justin's going to board out a lot of his removal spells. The Shieldred we saw came in, the Kaidos for additional threats. Dreams is kind of interesting where against the control deck, there's only 8 creatures in the deck, but they are pretty powerful, especially Shiko. And then the counter spells as well. Disdainful Short Negate seem like pretty good for Jess.
All right, let's see if we've got Justin's list and we move across to it. We do. So this is what he's got. That's the sideboard. We've seen a couple of these, but anything changed now? He'd be on the draw.
Yeah, very similar to what we saw from the other Justin, the other Justin who was also playing Jeskai Control. And what we have here, some Tidebinders, pretty good to get. That card is really good against Kaido because you have to pick up the creature and then the Kaido stays in the hand. What's interesting to me is we saw when we came into that game, we saw a Wiltleaf Liege on the battlefield, and Jess is not playing the bounce version of Dimir. Jess is playing just regular Dimir, no Nightmares, no Lilianas. It's possible that Justin didn't know that and boarded in the Wiltleafs, assuming that maybe Justin had a different read on the situation. But given how long that game went and there was no Nightmares, wouldn't be a surprise to see those come back out for game number 3.
Maybe just wanted to, get a board presence to start to side to a little bit of flexing going on, but that is it. We are off to the races. Both players like the opening hands. Jess is going to be on the play. Justin starting off with his Surveyor Land. Likes the card, keeps it on top. What do we have on 2? Main phase Pixie.
Love
like
it.
Oh, I love
Will,
it.
love
Fairy,
it.
sorry.
Love it.
Talk to me why. Why did we do that?
So the Jeskai control deck has Dispelling Exhale. Now, Justin only has 2 copies, but Jess doesn't know that. But some lists play 3 or 4 copies of that card. So getting it under the counter magic is something that Jess really wanted to do there, and I love that play.
Yeah, I like it. I think we kind of get laser focused on if someone says instant speed or flash on it, I have to do it in my opponent's turn. Sometimes that's just not the correct line to do to gain max value out of your cards. Here comes the 4th land drop. We're going to turn this Preacher sideways and get the coveted double trigger. So we're going to get a 1/1 white vampire token with lifelink, and we get to lose life and draw a card. All the value.
And look at that too. Justin was so afraid of the Fairy Mastermind that he decided to use the Get Lost on the 2/1, and now just resolved the Preacher of the Schism. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's bad.
Whew.
Okay.
So we get to draw the card and put the Kaido into play and draw another card off Kaido. Whew.
Well, we get to Surveil as well first. Surveil 2, and then we get to draw a card. For people that maybe just watching coverage for the first time, getting used to standards, some of these old mechanics, ninjutsu, talk me through it.
It's a weird ability where if you have a creature, it has to be an unblocked creature. So you cannot use ninjutsu until after after blockers are declared. And then you return an unblocked creature to your hand to put the ninjutsu card into play. Notably, that gets around counter magic because you're not casting the spell, you're just using the activated ability of the ninjutsu card.
And that is how we now have a Kaito on the board. The follow-up, though, is going to be this Beza, but you see how it's kind of laid out. You'd think there's 2 creatures on the board when it was cast, but there actually isn't. Kaito is only a creature in Jess's turn, so that's why there was no extras being made. We're going to lock that down, put 2 stun counters on it, which means we're clear to start turning these sideways. That's going to be another 5 damage going across to Justin's face. Shields are still down, still have a land drop here over on Jess's side.
Yeah, and Jess, no, we can't do that. We already used the Kaido, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we get the table spotter to just pause real quick? I believe Jess used the Kaido pre-combat, so we can't plus there.
We
can have somebody check that out real quick.
It's nothing huge right now, but yeah, if we can get it down to the table, I'm sure they'll get that sorted out. All it is basically that the dice is going to go back to 2, and we're going to lose that emblem. On the other side for Justin, do see some counter magic. Do see some things. There you go. We're going to change it. Yeah, you need
no harm, no foul.
There we go.
Yep.
Easy mistake.
All
Easy
good.
mistake. We're good.
All good. So yeah, just redeployed the Preacher, and now I believe they still have the counter spell, because wasn't there the Disdainful Stroke from one of the previous maps that both players knew about? So I believe Just still does have a counter spell in hand.
So how can Justin navigate around that? Of course, Disdainful Stroke, remember, CMC 4 or greater, it can discard. Looks like we've got judges coming across for some reason here. I'm not entirely sure what it could be. I know the stun counter got removed a little bit late. Is the stun counter maybe removed in the upkeep before the card's drawn?
I think what happened is we asked the table of the judge to come over and have the Kaido fix situation, and I think they realized it before the judge came over. I think that might be what happened here.
Well, again, this is why we have judges, and we're so thankful for having them as well, keeping it nice and clean, the board states that we want. So just explain it. Jess is going to go, this is what happened. This is what I think should happen. If Justin needs to, Justin will give his side, and then the judge will make a ruling. This happens quite, I'd say, a lot in Paper Magic. This isn't uncommon to have judges coming across. People can sometimes have things, their cards in different languages. Even Wizards print cards in different languages for us, like Phyrexian, which is the other one. He's like, Judge, I don't know what this card does. Can you talk me through it?
Or sometimes they'll put the artwork all over the text box or whatever. Chandra, the Chandra that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
I
literally had no idea what that middle word was. I was like, it's Chandra something. I can't see it. She's got loads of fire going over the hope part.
Yeah.
Looks like it might be resolved. I think the judges have gone away. So now Justin's thinking about his turn. 5 mana available plus land drop.
Yeah, so what is Justin looking for here? I mean, he needs a lot of stuff to be able to answer, but we got to start with the Preacher and the Kaido. Presumably, if he can only answer one, would probably want to answer the Kaido first. But I mean, this battlefield is just going to get worse and worse, because not only does Jess already have the 2 threats in play, they have the Soul Stone as well. They still have the map token that can find more gas, and both players know about that Disdainful Stroke too. So Justin's one of Justin's better plays here would just be Shiko, get lost the Kaido. Can't really do that in the face of that Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah, it's really, you don't really want to commit your 4-5 mana spells. One, because it's going to get done, but also it's going to get countered. But secondly, also it's going to take your whole turn up. Right. And it's like, how do we navigate around that? Is there a way to navigate around that? Like, especially with all this pressure that's currently on the board. Is that a high noon? That we have pit mana aside for it.
I don't know. I believe the hand for Justin is land, Meringue River region, and Beza, and then that one card that's face down in the. Was that really a high noon? I didn't see it.
I think it might be a high noon.
It's a weird one to bring in this matchup.
Having a little read of all the extra modes.
Yeah, I believe we're still awaiting on a fix for the judge call. I mean, we've already fixed the Kaido and the emblem. I'm not entirely sure what the other fix that we're discussing is.
It might be the stun counter, honestly.
Okay.
I did see that, once the Kaido dice sort of changed, then I think a card was drawn, and then the stun count was kind of changed. Maybe just a little bit confused.
The Beza should have 1 stun counter on it, right? Because we just used the Kaido on it, and then Justin untapped the first turn. That would be 1 counter removed. So, I mean, from what I could tell, the board state looks the way that it should.
Maybe it's like because they drew the card and then did the stun counter. Is the stun counter going to come off first? Like, is the argument here that should have 2 on?
Well, the thing is, no, because I don't know how this is ruled, but I'm pretty sure you can't miss the stun counter, because it's not like a trigger that goes in the stack. It's just the art of untapping your permanents. You can't miss untapping your permanents. You know what I mean?
Well, Joe's just going to sit down and explain it. Maybe we can get some confirmation of what that is once this is resolved. We don't want to interfere as much as we can while this is going on. But Joe's is definitely going to be explaining something. So maybe we can start talking about some of the future events that we've got going on while they kind of resolve this. So we do have future events coming up. You know what I mean? We've got announced all next year's ones as well. You can take part in Indie, but that's going to be Final Fantasy Team Sealed. Now, Doom, I think that this format's lost on me and you because we've not played the computer game yet. But in chat, if you are hyped for some of this Final Fantasy stuff, let me know who is your favorite character in Final Fantasy. Because this is one thing I've seen across the board that no one has got a favorite. It's not like the one character they love because there's so many different games. There's so many main characters and side characters. We were talking about that, and excuse me, chat, when I say this, a golden chicken that everybody was raving about on the internet that's now in different colors, and we have no idea what it's for or what it means. So feel free to let us know in chat.
There's also 77 of them, and I'm sure that means something to the people who play Final Fantasy, but I have no idea why there's 77. So
maybe chat will let us know. Maybe there's been 77 across all the games. Maybe one of the games has got 77 of them. Not entirely sure. But we'll find out. But that is what we're going to have on June 28th. It is going to be a Team Final Fantasy sealed. You can see all the fun everybody's having in there. And of course, it is a trial. So if you win that, you will also get a custom token made of you and your friends. What token do you think me, you, and Mason would get?
I mean, it's got to be Monk token, right?
All three of us?
Oh, well, I mean, so I guess you're saying there's like, oh, you know, it'd be a cool one, Crash of Rhinos, because I think there's 3 rhinos in the art.
You look at you there, like, oh, I want a rhino too. But I allow it. I would allow it. Like all three of us, a rhino each, or riding a rhino each. Maybe we're jousting on rhinos or something along those lines.
I just want to play. I just want to play rhinos again, man. Just let me do it.
You can. It's just not the crazy tier 1 deck that it used to be. That's all. Right. It looks like we have got a fix. Justin's passing the turn, or if yeah, Justin.
I think Justin already said go.
Didn't have a land drop.
Yeah, so I believe the hand was Beza, Meringue River region, 3 steps ahead. Apparently that was a High Noon. And something else I'm not sure about, but
all right. Let's have a little look how we're going to get on. So we're going to go for some. Is this 4 mana? This is going to be the draw to. What's 4 mana in this card? It's either 3. Oh, it's going to be make a token. Create a token that's covered with type creature. We've got the Beza.
Oh, right. So we can copy the Beza, and then that'll give us some tokens to block with. That's a pretty heads-up play. So make the Beza. We get a little bit of life. I don't know how many cards Jess has in hand. I'm going to assume that Justin has more, but I could be wrong on that. And what's interesting about this is, well, actually, now that I look at it, Jess probably has more cards. But the interesting thing about this is that the 3 steps ahead, even though Justin paid 4 mana for it, cannot be hit by a Disdainful Stroke because the spree is an additional cost. So the mana value is still considered 1 on the stack.
What I'm confused with is did we block with that original Beza? No, it's got. I'm so confused. It went to the graveyard. It's now come back. Where's the stun counter? Did we block with it already?
This is not confusing at all, but I believe Justin is using the Beza just to represent that it's a copy of Beza, which is a little confusing. I think we should maybe just have the copy, put the Beza back in the graveyard, but you know, it's
what's put it in the graveyard? That's what I don't get.
Legend rule. It's a legendary.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
Nah, okay. Come on, don't say that.
That makes so much more sense. I was like, I don't understand this part. You're like, obviously, it's legendary. Legendary will 101 magic will get a grip. It's been a long day, dude. I haven't eaten in a long time. I need food. I'm looking. I've gone with your instinct. We're gonna get Italian. I'm having pizza after today. It's cheat day after all. Right. How can we rebuild? Let's get back to the match. Justin, looks like we might find our 6th land drop.
It's going to be really tough because we still know about the Disdainful Stroke in Jess's hand. I don't even know if they care about this card, but all right. Well,
we're going to play Wildleaf into it. Why not? It's going to be a 4/4 creature. It's fine. Get it on the board.
It also could be a situation where Jess just has more counter spells, and they're just like, well, I mean, anything you play, I'm just going to counter it, and then counter whatever you play next turn. And I believe we can. And there's a good chance that Jess even has enough for a 2-turn clock here. So the Kaido, if they make another emblem, that'll be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I believe Jess can deal 17 this turn.
Well, if Jess can do 17, got another Kaito in the hand. So if we plus this one, oh no, we can't.
Well, it's 17 including the Soulstone activation because Soulstone, don't forget, is a ninja.
Yeah, it is.
So if Jess makes another emblem, the Kaido would be 5, right? The Preacher is 2, that's 7. The Token is 3, that's 10. Drowner is 2, that's 12. And then 5 from the Stone, that's 17.
That's, remember, so that is High Noon that's on the board. So only going to be one spell. Deep Coming Bats is what we played. We were able to nab a dragon out of the hand, showing a hand of land Baser. I think they're going to tally this up. It's going to have to be a really good top deck for Justin here, especially in the face of how many cards has Jess got in a minute? 5?
5, but Jess has a disdainful stroke, so I think they have everything covered. I like looking at Justin's deck list. I don't know if there's a card
Split
that
up.
Justin can draw that gets under stroke. Yeah, the split up's not good enough though, because there's still the Kaido that survives, the Drowner that survives, and the Soulstone Sanctuary. So I don't think split up's good enough.
This is pretty rough.
Like 2 4-mana plays, but Justin only has 6 mana, so can't even like, go like Beza into Shiko. There's also a High Noon in play, which yeah, you wouldn't even be able to do that. So there's multiple reasons why that don't work.
High Noon can do 5 damage, but here's the tap 2. That's the same full stroke. It's going to counter it. Justin 2 mana now, kind of doing the math himself. Like, okay, right, if I block that, how much do I take? I'm at 7 life. Going to make Jess go through the actions.
I will attack you.
There you go. There's the handshake. Jess was able to navigate through it. And now at 5-0 with this Dimir tempo deck. Look really, really good. Every time we've seen this on camera, it's looked really like impactful. Lots of game decisions. Sometimes you get that crazy, breakthrough, draw a bunch of cards as we saw earlier on and win the game. But that one there was really cool back and forth, but never looked like Jess was never in control.
Yeah, absolutely. And very, very good showing there from Jess. And they move on to 5-0, probably blocked for a top 8. We'll have to see.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Right. Now, let's go back to where I was going about 20 minutes ago. Me and you, this is going to be our last round in the booth before we hand over to Ross and Mason. It's been a pleasure as always, my friend. Thank you for carrying me through this. Get the shoulder rub in because you're going to need it. Go eat healthy and big Italian food and fuel up ready for next time when you see me and you in the booth. Any last words for the beautiful people out there before we go?
Don't forget, text your mothers today. If you're if you're down for Mother's Day, be sure to let them know that let them know that you're there. So
there's so much motherly love in this. I love it. All right, we're out. Me and Doom. Have a good one, chat. See you next time.